Are you looking to increase your sales and boost your selling abilities to the max? Welcome to the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast with best-selling author Eric Lofholm. Eric has trained over 10,000 students, and they have generated over $500 million in sales increases over the last 20 years. One thing he understands is that being a lifelong learner is key to your sales success. Every week, Eric Lofholm interviews elite sales and business professionals and discovers what helps make them the legends they are today.
Hi, this is Eric Lofholm. I want to welcome all of you to another great edition of the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast. And today I have another fantastic guest to introduce to all of you today. His name is Wes Schaeffer. Wes is known as the Sales Whisperer. He's one of the top consultants in the industry. He's been in sales for over 24 years, been consulting for 15 plus years. We're going to get into CRMs. We're going to get into great sales ideas. Wes, welcome to the show.
Hey, you can't change this up on me, man. You said we were talking about whiskey and jujitsu, and come on, man. Now I gotta get my head on. Okay, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Good. So, Wes, tell us a little bit about yourself so the audience can get connected to you. You're very well known in the industry. Some of my folks, though, they're going to be meeting you for the first time through this podcast. I wanted you on the show so they can get connected to you because you're awesome. So tell us a little bit about you.
Man, what to tell you, huh? Well, yeah, as soon as I got out of the Air Force in 1997, I jumped right into commission sales. You know, I had a wife. We'd been married a couple of years, had a baby, another baby on the way. And I've been putting food on the table now for her and 7 kids and a dog, just by me flapping my gums. So maybe I'm doing something right. And hopefully, you know, the lessons I've learned can shorten the trials and tribulations of your listeners. I started my own thing at the end of 2006, trademarked the Sales Whisperer. But, you know, even in that, we'll get into some of the setbacks and whatnot. I mean, I went back to corporate America a couple of times. You know, it was hard starting. There was also some opportunities that I jumped on and providing for a large family as the sole, you know, income provider. You know, I had to be smart about it. But, you know, hey, it's still doing my thing and still putting food on the table. So, like I said, I must be doing something right.
Yeah, and one of the things about you is you're really a expert with CRMs. There's a number of CRMs that you're trained in at a very high level. You help entrepreneurs and salespeople select their CRMs. Could you just talk a little bit about why are you so passionate about the CRMs and what are some tips that you can share with people about using them? Because I think a lot of salespeople they're not using and harnessing the power that they could with their tool.
Right. Well, it's a blessing and a curse. I'm like an efficiency freak. I hate redundancy. I hate doing tedious things. But you know, early on in my sales career, I was selling mobile homes, man, in Mobile, Alabama, 1998. And we had this rudimentary database. And if you entered your prospects' info into the database, and they came back later, you know, on your day off, or maybe you're busy and you got to hand them over to somebody else, you still got 50% of that sale just for entering them in the database. If you did not enter them into the database, right, and you spend hours with them, let's say they came in on a Saturday, spend hours, and you're off on Sunday and someone else is working on Sunday, they come in, if they're not in the system, you get none of the commission. So it wasn't very hard for me to enter everybody's info, right? So it literally meant whether or not I could put food on the table. And after that, you know, I got into technology sales, and we use all kind of painful systems, man, Onyx and Siebel and homegrown. And I was with a tech startup in 2004, started using Salesforce.com, and, you know, it was mandated. So some people would complain. I just figured out, hey, if this is what I have to do to get paid, I'm going to figure out how to do it efficiently. So I dove in, I learned about templates and learned about, sending mass email, and we were limited back then, and most companies still are with a Salesforce account, but you could still send like 500 a day, right? And when I learned about how to use templates, how to streamline things, because you're saying the same things to people over and over and over again. So I just embraced it, and then I stumbled into doing it for myself when I found Infusionsoft in 2008. Then I expanded into Entreport and HubSpot and Nimble, Active Campaign. I got into all those around 2014, and just help people pick the right platform for them, because it's the cost of doing business, right? You need some type of you need more than a CRM, right? I made a post a long time ago talking about how CRMs are dead. And what I mean by that is standalone CRMs are dead. It's just a Rolodex in the sky. You need the automation. That's why you see Salesforce, they bought ExactTarget, I think in like 2012, something like that, for like a couple $1 billion. And they had already bought Pardot, which does automation. So, I mean, even, the big 800-pound gorilla in the CRM space knows you've got to automate. You need to establish multimedia, multi-step communication with your prospects. And, so I help the folks in the small to medium business space do that.
Yeah. So any of you listening to this or watching this right now, if you don't have a CRM, or if you have one, you're not really using it, Wes is somebody who's one of the best consultants in the world. He knows it inside and out. He can help you. He can help you select the right CRM. And so let's get into, what is your best business increasing or sales increasing idea?
Probably just be a product of the product. I remember listening to an old Zig Ziglar tape back when they were still tapes. And people don't realize he was basically like in network marketing, right? It was kind of like, what's the kitchen?
He was selling pans is what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. But, Pampered
Okay.
Chef. It kind of like a Pampered Chef, right? And I mean, I love the Pampered Chef products. My family, like we fight over the spatula, right? I think we have 3 of them. We use it so much. I mean, but he was doing these in-home demonstrations. And I remember him talking about one of his coworkers was really struggling. And he's like, have you sold yourself your own set of cookware? And the guy was like, no. And Zig said, you got to sell yourself first. And I remember years ago, man, like I got started with Infusionsoft in 2008. And somebody came to me, it was 2010, maybe 2011, somewhere in there. I was using it long enough to know what I was doing. And they said, you're the first partner we've run across that's using the software. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we went to your website, you had to contact us for them. You had this free report that we got. It sent us the report. It sent us some follow-up emails. I'm like, I can never cross my mind not to use the stuff that I'm selling. Right? And so it's like, if you're selling Fords and you're driving a Chevy, you're probably not getting as good of results as you could. Well, Wes, I mean, that's a lot of turnover. I can't buy a car every time I switch jobs. Well, A, stick with your job, and B, yes, you should, even if it's an old used one. I mean, if you're working for Ford, you better you better own at least one Ford. Okay. So you've got to be sold on what it is you're selling. Because again, like Zig would say, selling is the transference of a feeling, and that feeling is confidence. So are you confident you've got a good solution? Are you confident of the problems that you solve? So, and I get it, B2B, like when I was selling high tech, I couldn't be a product of the product. I'm not setting up servers in my house, but I think you get the point. It's, you gotta be sold, on what it is that you're offering the world, and let that confidence come out.
That's a really powerful idea. When I got started in sales, I was terrible at it. And what got me better was mentoring and coaching. And I became a sales mentor and a sales coach. And I still pay my coach that I had back in 1994. I still work with him on a monthly basis. And so when I'm selling coaching, I believe in it because I still do it to this day. And if you're a real estate agent and you don't own your own home, it's something to take a look at. Because if you did own your own home, you probably sell more houses. And if you're selling life insurance, if you don't have the product you're selling, so that's a really terrific advice, Wes. All right, let's talk about a setback or low point in your life. What was a setback that you had? And if you learned anything from the setback, what did you learn?
Oh no, man, I'm stubborn. I gotta face the same setback about 7 times. Then I learn like, okay, I should probably change. Um, so I mean, there's so many really. It's life is just a bunch of just overcoming obstacles. But I remember early on, I went back to corporate America a couple of times, like I mentioned early on when I was working with clients. Um, I was getting burned out because, I was always made myself available. Uh, but I cared more about my client's success than many of them did. Um, and that was rough. It's there's a reason, surgeons don't operate on friends and family, right? They can't detach. They can't be that neutral third party. And so that took a while to internalize, but I mean, there's just so many. I remember the first chargeback I got. I mean, in all these years, I've probably had 3 chargebacks ever. But I remember, like, it's rude. People say, "Oh, it's just business." It's like, no, business is personal. I don't care. I don't care what they say, man. I mean, when I was training at Dell, yeah, Dell, corporate wrote my corporation a check, but a specific dude, John, signed it to me and I took it from his hand and I cashed it, right? It was very personal. So, this lady filed a chargeback and I remember fighting it and I learned the hard way. Those little check boxes when you're buying online and you agree to
Right.
the terms
You
and
haven't read it,
conditions.
but you just check,
Like I didn't
check.
Yeah, I mean, so, the credit card company, because I'm like, this woman enrolled, she went through the courses, we sent a welcome package. I mean, we sent physical product. And they're like, well, yeah, you didn't have that little checkbox. So, you can't confirm that she read I mean, I linked to the terms, but so, okay, I got to go put in terms. And another one, I did a 3-day workshop and it was 2 days of training on Infusionsoft. And then it was 1 day of hands-on. So you could come in and you could take either or of the courses, and everybody came for both. And so it was 2 days of just digging in and whiteboard session. And then 1 day of like, apply what you learned. We're going to be there with you. And this lady came, she takes pictures. She went hiking all around here in the foothills. And after lunch on day 3, she's like, oh, my grandmother's sick. I got to leave. She filed a chargeback. I'm like, what is going on? So again, we fight this and the credit card company said, yeah, if you don't have people sign in to class every day, you can't prove that they were there to take the class. I'm like, what? So now I have a sign-in sheet for every day when I do. So, I mean, it's like you learn all these things the painful way, That's why I say my goal is just to help people get punched in the nose less than I did.
Yeah, I had an experience when I had this office that I had rented, and it was on a 3-year commercial lease. It was $2,500 a month, and my business, the wheels came off my business, and I had to shut the office down. And I had personally guaranteed this thing at $2,500 a month, and it had 2.5 years left on the lease, which was whatever that was, 80 grand or whatever the math was. And so I had personally guaranteed it. They took me to court and they got a settlement, and I had to pay this money back. And so to this day, I'm in my office right now. I have a month-to-month lease because I don't want that to happen. And you don't get that big of a discount at my place if you do more than like a year or whatnot. And so it's interesting. We have these little experiences, and then you learn, to make sure that you've covered your bases. So Let's talk about,
Rough, huh?
yeah, that was a painful one for me. Let's talk about what's something in your life that you've accomplished that you're proud of?
Um, you know, I've had some good things as well as bad things, right? I mean, been married 25 years. We have 7 kids. I've written 2 books, um, and doing my own thing in ups and downs, crazy economies. Um, 2 kids graduated from college so far. 2 are in college. A lot of good things. I've been fortunate. My son was in this kind of international school. I got to spend 7 to 10 days with him each time, 3 different countries of those that he traveled, and I've spoken in Europe and a lot of different stages. So it's I'm blessed, man. It's had a lot of good things.
One of the things that is really neat about you is that you just are the kind of human being that wants to help out when you can. And I remember when the floods were happening in Texas, and you went there for an extended amount of time just to use your gifts and talents to help people in Texas. Can you talk a little bit about that and what compelled you to pick up and go there for, I don't know if you were there a week or a couple weeks, however long it was. Tell us about that. That was really incredible.
Yeah, Hurricane Harvey. So I moved to Houston from Baton Rouge in 6th grade. It's my adopted hometown, right? And I just saw, I mean, literally all my friends, classmates, flooded out. One of the first places I went, I took a classmate to his house, on a jet ski, right? We could literally ride the thing into his front door, into his living room. Um, he just needed to check on a few things, grab a few things. Fortunately, it was a 2 story, so he could get some things from upstairs. But yeah, just growing up there, I wanted to go back, and you couldn't get into Houston. I had to fly into Austin, where my mom lives. And again, a high school friend knew somebody. Guy gave me his truck and a trailer and 2 Sea-Doos and like 5 5-gallon containers of gas. And I had to drive into Houston, through the floods. Um, I remember I was looking at the roads, and I had Apple and Waze, like seeing like what's open. And they're like, well, this road is closed. And I think Waze said, well, this one's open. Yeah, that road should not have been marked open. So that's the one I went down, right? It took hours. It was just this straight road, but I started late and ended up being nighttime. And I passed some people coming the other way, so I was able to get kind of an update and ran across old Clint. Clint's on a Clint's on a quad. Clint had a girlfriend he wanted to see. Fortunately, he left his truck at the beginning, pulled the quad out, drove down to see his girlfriend, even in the flood. And he's coming back. I'm like, can I get through? He's like pounding Bud Lights. Yeah, I'll escort you. So I followed Clint down this road, just to get to my friend's house, just kind of as a staging area that we could help from there. So it was amazing, right? And I raised $23,000 and just gave it away. Right? I just handed it to people that I knew, some I didn't. Gave to some charities. A friend of mine had a ministry down there. I gave him $5,000, and but yeah, I just wanted to go. Right, it was my hometown, so I wasn't going to let them just sit there and suffer if I could do something.
Yeah. And how long were you there?
8 days,
Wow. Yeah.
and like God bless my wife, right? Because this was, I think it was a Monday, and the storm had hit on the weekend, and I was just looking at it. I'm like, I got to do something. My wife's like, you probably need to go out there. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. And that was like Monday morning, if I remember right. And I had a flight booked that evening out of San Diego. My father-in-law drove me down. I remember a friend of mine up in San Francisco. He said, "Hell, I'll give you $500. I'll donate $500 to the cause." I was like, I didn't even think about it. Like, what? So I just set up a PayPal account and just said, "Hey, y'all want to donate?" And I was just going on my own, right? I mean, I just paid my own way, and but just started making donations, and I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Next question. What's one way you've used repetition to improve or master a skill?
Well, repetition is the key to learning. I mean, it's everything I've done is repetition. You know, the old adage, amateurs train until they get it right. Professionals train until they can't get it wrong. You know, so every single thing I do has been through repetition. I mean, from jujitsu to sales, marketing automation, whatever. It's anything worth doing, right? It takes a long time to master. So put in those 10,000 hours.
Excellent. And how do you like to learn? Are you a YouTube guy? Is it podcasts? Is it books? Do you hire consultants? What do you like to do?
Yeah, all the above. I've spent a lot of time on YouTube, you know, looking back, back when I was starting Infusionsoft, you know, there was no 24/7 chat. There was no evening support. There was no weekend support. So a lot of just reading the help menus. And I mean, when they were open, I called. And I told people, I bet literally nobody called more than that. I'd call 5 and 10 times a day, getting stuck on stuff, right? So, because um, I am a freak, like I said, about efficiency. You know, the old joke about, you know, a man will never stop and ask directions. I will stop and ask directions. I don't like being lost.
Mhm.
You know, if it comes to work, it's like, I want the answer. I want it done right. Let's get after it. So if, you know, I've got sales coaches as well, marketing coaches. I just hired a guy. We're doing a new program. We're launching in March. Cause it's hard to do your own stuff. You know, it's like, I can see the error in your golf swing in 3 minutes, but I'll make the same mistake in my swing, you know, for 3 years before I figure out my own, right? Because looking at one another, it's just mo better, right? So hire someone, dig in. So I mean, it's all the above, right? I got shelves and shelves of books, and highlights, but a lot of YouTube, a lot of private coaching. So whatever it takes, man. It's like just whatever it takes to hit that goal.
Excellent. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is I wanted to share you with my network. You're the real deal. You know, you had your sleeves rolled up. You know, you're just really great at what you do. And so I want to give you an opportunity to promote either your podcast, or if you want to offer a free consult or free this or a free report, anything you want. What's a next step or a couple next steps that people can take if they want to get to know you?
Well, they should go listen to you, man. I mean, you were guest number 17 on the sales. I'm up to like
That's
490.
awesome.
So you came on when I was nobody. You put me on the map, man. The Eric Lofholm came on the sales podcast back in the day. I think we were on a CB radio
Right.
back then. I don't even know. I think it was like a can and some strings. I don't even know how we did it, but you did it. Yeah, I mean, I've had the sales podcast. You mentioned, you know, CRMs. I mean, everything's accessible. Just, you know, go to the saleswhisperer.com, and I've got a free sales calculator. I've got a free CRM quiz that'll help you. It'll ask a bunch of questions and then map out some options. I'm active on social media. I don't have somebody that does it for me. So if you get a reply, people all the time, is this really you? I'm like, yeah, it's really me. You know, it's like, got to send proof of life, right? A little photo. Like, hi, Eric, it's really me. So just go there. Go to the saleswhisper.com. You can get my books. You can subscribe to the podcast. So whatever. Because everybody's in a different spot, right? And I don't know where you are. And I always say, we as salespeople, we have to adapt how we sell to match how our prospects buy, right? We've got to meet them where they are. So just let me know where you are, and I'll meet you there.
Yeah, so go check out Wes at thesaleswhisperer.com. Opt in, get on his list, you know, connect with him. I'm on his Facebook, and sometimes I'll jump onto his threads. He has some pretty interesting threads in what he talks about on there. So yeah, he's a great person to connect with on social media. Couple last questions here. I call it my rapid fire in 1 minute or less. What's one goal that you have right now?
Short-term goal is to launch a new sales training program. I've got a new expert I'm working with, so I hope it works out. We've got some big goals for that here in March and April. So we shall see.
Fantastic. What's a musical group or singer that you enjoy listening to?
Oh man, King George.
King George?
George Strait.
George Strait.
George Strait. He's a great one. I've got an eclectic music, I don't know, repertoire, but starts with King George.
All right. And what's your favorite sports team?
I could shift the camera. I got my LSU Tigers up there. Growing up in Baton Rouge, and my parents went to LSU, so that was my first love.
Awesome. And you mentioned the foothills. You also mentioned San Diego. Where exactly do you live?
I'm an hour north of San Diego, but a little bit inland. So we're not up. People think an hour north is Orange County, and it is. That's if you go up I-5. If you go up 15, you go up. You start hitting Temecula, then past me, you get up into Riverside. So I'm in between Riverside and San Diego.
Yeah, I used to live in Mira Mesa, and I used to go up the 15, go up the 5 and the 405, doing sales training all over Southern California. I'm up in Sacramento now.
Oh, nice.
But familiar with that area. Well, Wes, I'm so glad that it worked out for you to come on the podcast. And like I said, I wanted to share you with my network, my audience. You're one of the good guys in training. You're the real deal. You have great knowledge. You're a straight shooter, and you really are creating tremendous value for people in the marketplace. And so thank you for being on the show. Any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
Man, I just appreciate you having me. It's, I'd say the same thing about you, right? That's why I had you on. It's, there's some bad guys out there, so it's good to find the good guys and hang out with them.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up another great edition of the Continuous Sales Improvement Podcast. Thank you all for listening. Look forward to connecting with you on a future episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, make sure and subscribe to get notified of new episodes each week. And check out our other great episodes by going to continuoussalesimprovement.com. That's continuoussalesimprovement.com. And while you're there, pick up Chapter 1 totally free of my new book, Continuous Sales Improvement. Just opt in when you go to the website. Until next time, keep on improving. I'll see you in the next episode.